For the 750th time, we have to ask, is this a turning point for the Magic? Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 24th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, is this the moment? Have the Magic finally turned the corner? We're going to find out on Tuesday, but we'll talk a little bit about the impact of this weekend's games and what this road trip has meant for the Orlando Magic. Plus, we'll talk about the same problem the Magic and the Lakers have ahead of Tuesday's game. We'll get to that coming up here. Plus, a quick standings watch on today's episode of Locked On Magic. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers who listen 5 days a week, who listen on the weekends when we do our weekend episodes, who make us part of your daily podcast rotation, who make us your first listen every day. We truly appreciate you all for making Locked On Magic such a great and growing community, and we thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. We've been waiting and holding our breath to say the Magic have turned the corner, that the Magic have figured themselves out, all the inconsistency, all the randomness. They figured stuff out and they are moving forward. They're moving on. They're becoming more of the team we thought they would be. And it's been rough. Like, no doubt about it. The last 2.5 months have been rough. Almost 3 months now. Since Franz Wagner went out with the injury on December 7th, Orlando is 16-16, if I'm not mistaken. They are essentially a 500 team. We'll talk a little bit more about the stats on that in a minute. They are statistically in the NBA about as like mid as you can get. This has been a team that, if you look at their range, has not done anything crazy. They've got 2 4-game losing streaks. They've got 2 4-game winning streaks. They stay pretty level. Nothing crazy. And what we've been waiting for is a stretch like the one the Magic are on right now, where they've won 5 of their last 7 games. And they're not just treading water at around 500. Remember way back before the homestand started, before the All-Star break, I said the Magic needed to go 8-4. 8-4 over the next 12 games. They are currently, if I can do my math correctly, 5-2. So, like, they're the question we have is, are they picking up steam? Because as we'll get to the standings watch, it's time. It's time to start making your move, stamping your place, and saying we are going to take the 6th seed. Like I said yesterday, nothing's going to be given to the Orlando Magic. They have to go out and take it, and they have every opportunity to take it. But Sunday was an important moment. Sunday's game against the Clippers, and we talked a lot about Desmond Bane and talked a lot about some other things, but we didn't talk kind of specifically about why that game was important against the Clippers. Sunday's game was important because of how frustrating Saturday's loss was. Saturday's loss to the Phoenix Suns could have been a back-breaking moment. Like very, very seriously, that could have been it. We've seen that with this Magic team last year when they went 1-6 on that homestand right after the All-Star break. Literally the same time of year. When they let a tough loss to the Raptors become a second tough loss to the Raptors, become a third tough loss to the Chicago Bulls in overtime, where they weren't able to turn these tight games into victories. And we're going to get to clutch time stuff because that stuff matters, where we're talking margins here. And in a tight playoff race, yes, we could very easily look back and say, oh, that game against the Suns was a game the Magic needed to have. That's the fact of the matter is, I went through the whole schedule and said, okay, these are the toss-up games. Phoenix was my first toss-up game. You got to win as many of those as you can. But as I always, let's always say, there's 82 of these things, and they're all important. I'm not saying one game is less or more important than the others, although the Toronto game and the Miami game will be very important. All of these games are important, but there's so many of these games. It's about stretches. The reason why we're all frustrated because we feel like the Magic have been so inconsistent with their effort and so inconsistent defensively and so inconsistent with their identity that we feel like they've left wins on the table. And that is 100% correct. The Magic have left wins on the table. They have left opportunities to they are not reaching their potential. We can all clearly see that. Regardless of the injuries, the Magic should be in the fight for fifth. No offense to our friends at Locked On Raptors. The Raptors have had a great season. If the Magic were anywhere near what we know they're capable of, they'd be sitting in the 5 seed today. Would they be the 4? I'm a little more hesitant to go that far because Cleveland's playing really, really well. But I don't see any reason why the Magic shouldn't be 3 or 4 games better than they are and in the fight for 5 with Toronto and maybe on the verge. No one was wrong to set the expectations high for this Magic team. They've got all the pieces to be great. And they have struggled to hit that mark this season. They have struggled to hit that mark consistently. And so Sunday's game was important because it was a response. And if there's one thing the Magic have been consistent about all season long, it has been this response. When they take a bad loss, they answer with a nice win. Now, what they haven't done is they haven't built momentum off of that. And that is the next step. And you hope, and look, we saw this with Desmond Bane back in November. Hitting that game-winning shot against Portland woke him up a little bit. If you throw out those first 11 games, everything after the Portland shot, Desmond Bane's been exactly what the Magic hoped for. Maybe not getting as many three-point attempts as you would like him to get, but he's been great. There is something to it, even though I am not a believer in clutch time. I'm not a believer in, saying, oh, this guy's clutch or he has a clutch gene or any of that stuff. I just don't believe in it because every moment of a game is important. And to me, clutch games are just coin flips. If Benedict Mathurin hit that shot on Sunday night, we are having a completely different conversation today. If Jalen Green missed that shot on Saturday, we're having a completely different conversation today. We're talking about the Magic having already turned the corner because of those results. And it comes down to a make or a miss. If you're a good team, nothing comes down to a single shot. Now, again, playoff chases, we'll talk about that. I do want to talk about that. But winning a close game and winning the way the Magic had to win, they had to take that game on Sunday night. They're down 4 with 3 minutes to play. There was not it's not like a typical Magic clutch game where they're up and they're holding teams off because they can't score in the half court. The Magic went out and grabbed that game. They made the shots they had to make. They got the stops they had to get, and they took that game and won it. Heck of an effort by the Orlando Magic on Sunday. And everybody's hoping that kind of a win is inspiring. That kind of a win is what allows the Magic to take that next step. To finally be the team everyone imagined they would be more consistently. That's the hope. But you don't know until the next day, because the beauty of the NBA and the curse of the NBA is there's always another game. You don't get a lot of time to celebrate. And it isn't just about one game. I don't care about one game. It's how those games add up. Magic have won 5 of their last 7. That's good. That's the best stretch the Magic have had since December. Now it's about, okay, how do we build on this? How do we get another win? How do we make it 6 of 8? How do we make it 7 of 10? How do we make it not 7 of 10? How do we make it 8 of 11? 10 of 12? How do we get this to be who the Magic are? And that's what's going to get answered on Tuesday against the Lakers. The Magic and the Lakers, though, share a similar story, the Rorschach test and clutch play. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is sponsored by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs from Indeed. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I will be reading this ad read, so we're like at what, 20, 25 seconds? We're just going to keep counting. We're going to keep stalling until we get to that minute. Companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you are hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. There's less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. If you want to take your Locked On Magic fandom to the next level, check out our Everydayer Club. In the Everydayer Club, you get access to the ad-free audio feed of this podcast, and you'll get access to the Locked On Discord server. In the Discord server, you can join the Locked On Magic channel and hear my 3 thoughts after every quarter. These are non-public. They do not post them on X. I don't post them anywhere else. They just go to my subscribers in the Everydayer Club, as well as on my Patreon as well. Check it out today at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com to learn more. The Orlando Magic will face the Los Angeles Lakers to close this West Coast road trip. And I want to note one thing about this road trip before we close it out. This is the last road trip of longer than 2 games the rest of the season. Orlando's got a little bit of a home-heavy schedule. They're going to make up some ground on their home schedule with the 4-game homestand. It's Houston, Detroit, Washington, Dallas. So a very manageable homestand. Again, you go 3-1 in that homestand, you're doing pretty good. I think we were all expecting 2-2 on this road trip. Certainly 3-1 feels possible, and the Lakers are an interesting team. I'm not going to go too deep into them. But the Magic and the Lakers both have a similar problem when you look at them as a team. Looking at their overall stats, so just like overall strict stats, both the Magic and the Lakers are better than they should be. The Orlando Magic are 15th in the league in net rating at plus 0.3 points per 100 possessions. Now, points per 100 possessions, a lot of people use that as a better barometer of how good you actually are. Orlando is a 500 team. They are 15th in defensive rating, or they're 14th now in 13th now in defensive rating, 13th in defensive rating. They are 17th in offensive rating. They're pretty average. A 0.3 net rating says that you should be 500, maybe like a 42 win team. Orlando currently at 30-26. If you'll let me do some math here, the Magic at 30-26 are at a 536 win percentage. That is a 44 win pace. Orlando's probably 2 wins better than they should be statistically. The Lakers are a different story. The Los Angeles Lakers have a minus 0.7 net rating. They're 11th, I believe, in offensive rating at 116 points per 100 possessions. They are near the bottom of the league, 24th in defensive rating at 116.7. But if you look at their net rating, minus 0.7, among all the teams with a negative net rating, which means they should be 500. Just looking at all the teams, there's 13 teams, there's 14 teams in the league that have a negative net rating. The Los Angeles Lakers are the only one with a record better than 500. They are 34-22. This is the Rorschach test. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. You can look at these teams' records and you look at the way the Magic and the Lakers have played this year and say, like, okay, they're winning more than they should. That means they've got the talent. Maybe they took a bad loss or some statistical outliers. We're 50 plus 56 games into the season. So can't quite be that. Like, stats are significant. One game ain't going to swing anything in crazy directions anymore. But you look at it and say, okay, clearly they have the talent to be better because you are what your record says you are, just as much as you are what your stats say you are. So you can look at it one of two ways. The first way, again, is that, okay, clearly they're talented enough to overcome a bad game or a statistical outlier. And again, I'm an optimist. That's kind of how I view the Magic. The Magic are much better than I think their record shows. I do believe in what they've built, and I think they very easily could be the team that everyone thought they could be. They had some hard times. They've had some inconsistency. It's clearly they haven't played great. But I do think that the fact that they're better, they have a better record than what their stats say they should, is a sign that they are as good, that they can be as good as we think they can be. So why is the record for the Magic and the Lakers this way? Because the other side of that coin is like, well, eventually the bottom's going to fall out. There is a reason why the Magic aren't the team they are, and it's because they aren't good statistically. They are a 500 team statistically. And eventually that's going to they're either going to become the team they're supposed to be, or they're going to level out and be this 500 team. The Lakers feel the exact same way, that they could bottom out at any time, because the Lakers have had more luck in clutch situations than any team. They have the fewest losses in clutch situations at 16-3. Essentially, if they're in a close game, if they're in a close game, they are going to win it. Having said that, they've also played the fewest clutch minutes in the league at 49 minutes. Remember what I always say? Good teams don't win close games, they avoid them. The Lakers win all their close games. They also tend to avoid them, which could mean they're getting blown out, like they're getting blown out, or they're blowing other teams out. There's no denying the talent that the Lakers have, and that is clearly seen in their statistics, because they have the best clutch net rating in the league at plus 20.6 points per 100 possessions. They have a 127.9 offensive rating and a 107.4 defensive rating in clutch situations. Again, only 49 minutes this season, but they are 16-3. The Magic, also surprisingly, very good in the clutch. Orlando actually has the 4th most wins this season in the clutch. And the teams that are at the top of that list are Detroit at 23-9, the Spurs at 19-10, and the Raptors at 19-9. Orlando is 18-10. Difference in that is literally that game at Toronto that the Magic lost. I don't believe the second Toronto game qualified for clutch minutes because the Magic won that game. The Magic's 133 clutch minutes is also the 5th most clutch minutes in the league. So if you're looking for a reason why the Magic are better than their record would suggest, it is because they win close games. They don't dominate them. They still lose, obviously, like they did against Phoenix, but they win close games. And in fact, they play well defensively in close games. The Orlando Magic's 104.4 defensive rating in clutch situations is 6th in the league. Having said that, Utah is 101.8 defensive rating in clutch situations. They can't defend at any other point in the game, but in close games, they defend well. Orlando's 108.4 offensive rating is 21st in the league. So they don't score in the clutch. Now, that tells me one big thing, that one of the issues the Magic have is a lot of these clutch games are Orlando's in the lead, they blow it, and they hold on for the win. Or they're able to kind of protect leads really well. They don't necessarily outscore you in close situations. Then again, that's just what they did against the Clippers. So who knows what these numbers actually tell us? But they do tell us this. A big reason the Magic are winning games, a big reason why the Magic have a better record than they should, is because if they get in a close game, they're going to win it. Now, where they get their points, that's a big question, because it ain't from Paolo. Desmond Bane has struggled a ton in his clutch minutes. It's really more about their defense, I think. But this is this is like a Rorschach test. Like what does it say to you? Like literally, like what like I presented this information. I fully admit this. I'm an optimist. I tend to when I don't know something, I tend to believe the better version of it. And look, I do believe that this team has the reason why this team has a better record than their stats say they should is because they are talented. The talent wins out. There is something here that works, even if they can't figure out how to make it work for 48 minutes and make it work for 82 games. There is something here that works. Orlando is a team that can handle itself late. And that is among the reasons why Orlando is still in this thing. But what do you think? Like literally, put it in the comments. Like, let me know. What do you think? Are the Magic better than their record, or is their record just about right? Because again, their ability to win late is a huge reason why they're not where they were last year. They're 18-10 in clutch situations this year. Last year, if my stat page will load, I'm going to help it out here by refreshing it. Last year, the Magic were 18-17 in clutch situations. That's like those 7 losses are the difference between the Magic being in the fight for the 6th seed and struggling to stay above 500. So with that, let's do a standings check. It's been a while since we've done a standings check. I'm going to explain a few things, talk a little bit about how you need to be watching the standings right now and the games that are actually going to matter. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That is right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. We're going to look at the board here and tell you a little bit about the futures that are up for the NBA. The NBA Finals winner, Oklahoma City, clearly the favorite at plus 130. The Orlando Magic still sitting there at plus 7,500. Still better than the Hornets at plus 12,500. Certainly better than the Raptors at plus 15,000. So if you're looking on betting on who's going to make the NBA Finals, that is your bet for the Orlando Magic. If you're looking for awards, I don't know if that is included in futures here, but you're looking at awards for, let's say, most improved player. For some reason, Anthony Black is only going at plus 7,500. He's pretty far down the list. Jalen Johnson, the betting favorite, Denny Avdia in second, looking at 6th man of the year. I don't think Anthony Black is eligible for that anymore, so he's not on that list. Magic won't have anyone up for clutch player of the year, certainly not for coach of the year. Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Cade Cunningham, your current favorite at plus 330. There's plenty of futures that you can look at. Playoffs. The Orlando Magic currently going at minus 320 to make the playoffs. That should be easy. Regular season wins. Let's see what we got here for regular season wins. The Orlando Magic are currently over under 44.5. That's actually really spicy. I think the Magic are going to get to like 45 or 46 wins if they play well. So 44.5, the current over-under is 52.5 in the preseason. Tells you how far they've fallen. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll start doing this regularly now that the All-Star break is over. You officially have my permission to follow other teams, follow Locked On Heat, follow Locked On Raptors, follow Locked On Sixers, follow Locked On Hornets, Locked On Hawks, Locked On Bucks. I saw what you guys did, Locked On Bucks, thinking that y'all can climb up to 7 and pass the Magic just because Franz is out. Magic have been 500 without Franz. Like, as much as they miss Franz and he makes them a better team, the Magic aren't some like abysmal wreck without him. So I heard what you guys said, Locked On Bucks, and I appreciate the optimism. I'm not here to yuck your yum, but no. But that Bucks game is one of the big games on the schedule. March 8th in Milwaukee. I will be there for that one. Is a big game. We do need to do periodic standings checks and certainly start scoreboard watching a little bit just to get ourselves ready. The Orlando Magic, as things stand, currently sit if you're looking at the standings and just reading the standings straight out, Toronto is at 34-23. They're 8.5. They're 3.5 games up on the Magic. Got a little bit of distance to go there, but I'll get to them in a minute. The Philadelphia 76ers are 31-26. They are half game ahead of the Magic now. Sixers went on a little bit of a cold streak. They blasted the Minnesota Timberwolves on Sunday. That is a weird team, Minnesota. But Orlando right there in the race. Orlando's 30-26, 12, half game back Philadelphia. In the standings, at least, the Magic are tied with the Miami Heat at 31-27. And then the Atlanta Hawks in 9th are 28-31. They are 3.5 games back. So the Magic are the same distance from Toronto in 5th as they are from Atlanta in 9th. Again, Toronto actually has a pretty difficult schedule coming down the stretch. So be aware of that. Be careful of that. Now, Saturday after Orlando lost to Phoenix and then Miami beat Memphis, Orlando was very briefly technically 8th in the Eastern Conference. And I'm very proud of you all for not freaking out about that. I tried my best to warn everyone that could happen and explain some things. The column that matters is the loss column. You can always get more wins. You don't want more losses. And the Magic actually have, again, Rorschach test. It's either an advantage or a disadvantage in that regard. The Magic have played only 56 games. If I'm not mistaken, they will play 17 games in the month of March. March is a very busy month. It's not like crazy, like, yes, you do get Oklahoma City. You do get some weird back-to-backs here and there. You get a couple home back-to-backs. There's a Atlanta, Oklahoma City back-to-back in there. Atlanta game is pretty important. OKC, you can see look great. Magic have been really bad on the first night of back-to-backs and really good on the second night of back-to-backs. So, just some food for thought there. The important line is the loss column. And so if you're looking purely at the loss column, the Magic are 4 games back of the Cavs in 4th. They're 5 games back in the standings. Cleveland's played 2 more games. I'm not worried about Cleveland. I'm not even thinking about Cleveland really right now. Toronto has played 57 games. Orlando's played 56. They have Magic have a game in hand on Toronto. Magic are 3 games back in the loss column. So there's still some work to do, but they're 3 games back essentially. The Sixers have played 1 more game than Orlando. They played 57 games. Again, Orlando's at 56. They're tied in the loss column. So the game I want you to note, again, mark it on your calendars. The game I want you to note is March 7th at Minnesota. If I did my math correct, and I compared everyone's schedules to figure out when the Magic catch up. The Magic make up that game in hand, March 7th in Minnesota. Now that's not the greatest opponent you want that for, because Philadelphia went up to Minnesota and beat the knocked the socks off of them. But you never know. Minnesota's a pretty good team. Don't want to deal with them in the clutch because of Anthony Edwards and all that. But essentially, Orlando right now is tied with Philadelphia. And until we get to that Minnesota game, Orlando's going to have a game in hand. They're always going to have one fewer game. So that again, think of it this way. That is an opportunity to get a win that Philadelphia can no longer get. Now, maybe you want the wins more than the losses. This one, I don't know. Miami has played 58 games. Orlando's played 56. Orlando technically still has 3 games in hand on Miami. It's 2 games right now. And so Orlando is 1 fewer win and 1 fewer loss than Miami. So yes, they are technically tied in the standings, and Orlando's got a 536 win percentage compared to Miami's 534. So, the way it's expressed in the table is the Magic are ahead. But the Magic are ahead by 1 loss. That's what matters. Miami can't get that loss back. So a team that's chasing, Miami has fewer opportunities to catch Orlando. So again, doing my back and napkin math, the 3 games in hand Orlando has on Miami are an advantage to the Magic. March 1st against Detroit, that's going to be tough. That's also one of the games in hand that the Magic have on the Raptors. The other game that the Magic have in hand on the Raptors is Minnesota. So the Detroit game on Saturday and then Minnesota next Saturday. Those are really vital games. The 3 games the Magic have in hand on Miami are March 1st against Detroit, March 16th at Atlanta. They play the Thunder the next night at home. And then April 5th at New Orleans. Now there's news that DeJounte Murray's back now, but by then New Orleans is probably going to be packed in and ready to go home. Although they don't have their draft picks, so what are they going to do? To say the least, the Magic should beat the Hawks. The Magic should beat the Pelicans. So if you're really looking at those standings, and in reality, Orlando's 3 games up in the loss column on Miami. Now, this is all potential. Again, this is all potential. But if you look at the standings, the Magic are still in a pretty good spot. Again, there's a game out there, and I believe it is that Minnesota game, that the Magic have that the Sixers don't. And once that game is gone, then it's just what happens. And Philadelphia owns the tiebreaker too. So don't forget that. Philadelphia won 2 of the 3 matchups. They own the tiebreaker. So Orlando's got ground to make up. They're tied in the loss column, but they are behind. But still, I've said this a million times. It's not about what Philadelphia does, not about what Toronto does, not about what Miami does. Orlando will play Toronto in late March. They will play Miami in mid-March. So they do get opportunities to put the Heat away. They sweep the Heat in a 5-game season series. They do get the chance to sweep the Heat. They do get a chance to win the season series with Toronto. And again, if you look at Tankathon, and their strength of schedule, opponent win percentage, which is the just simplest way to look at strength of schedule. Toronto has one of the hardest remaining schedules in the league. Toronto has the 8th hardest remaining schedule in the league. Now, by that same token, right now, Orlando has the 9th hardest remaining schedule in the league, and that's because they burned a Sacramento game. They burned some bad teams here over the last few weeks. They burned a couple of Milwaukee's. They've lost some of those games. They're going to drop down those standings because they got Houston, the Lakers, and the Pistons in their next 3 games. Those are 3 of the hardest teams that the Magic have left. Toronto always had one of the tougher schedules remaining in the league. Miami's right in the middle, 18th. Philadelphia is 19th, both under 500. So Orlando does have their work cut out for them. But again, they have an advantage here, I think. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is one of my isms. If you take care of your business will take care of you. All that matters is that the Magic win. They string together wins, 8 of 12, not 9 of 15. That's not very good. 12 of 15, 13 of 20. You start building wins. You just win basketball games. Everything else is going to fall into place. And that, of course, needs to start Tuesday at the Crypt against the Lakers. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Emily, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the Film IC download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page and the newsletter there at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. You can also check us out on the Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. There you'll get access to the ad-free audio feed plus access to the Locked On Discord server. Again, that's lockedonmagic.supercast.com to learn more. Now that you're done listening to us, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel for those of you on video. If you're on audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will be back tomorrow to recap the Magic's game against the Los Angeles Lakers. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.